Welcome to RCR Wireless News. I'm Martha DeGrasse, and I'm here today with David Letterman. He is Head of Ecosystem Development at Nokia Networks. David, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Martha. Thanks so much.
So we are here today to talk about your Silicon Valley Open Innovation Challenge, and to meet the winners of that challenge, they are here with us as well. We have Daniel Conde. He is Director of Product at Midokura. Daniel, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks. And we also have Jorg Bienert. He is co-founder of ParStream. Jorg, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So before we get started meeting you gentlemen and hearing about your solutions, I'd like to let you, David, tell us a little bit, first of all, about why Nokia Networks is deeply involved in Silicon Valley and what you do as Head of Ecosystem Development and why you have the Silicon Valley Open Innovation Challenge.
Sure. That's great. We're really excited about actually this year's Open Innovation Challenge. Open Innovation is all about finding unexpected results, working with the ecosystem, creating vehicles for having partners to accelerate solutions you otherwise wouldn't find, but that's so much harder to do than to say. And luckily we have some experience. Last year we had our first Open Innovation Challenge in Israel, and the results of that were great. But in my mind, the results aren't measured because of that day last year in Israel, but rather if we look back on what's happened with those companies and what they brought to us and what they brought to the whole industry. Nokia is engaged with 3 of those 5 companies. Actually, on July 3rd, just the day after this year's event, we announced the acquisition of one of these companies. Nice Optimizer became part of our portfolio, and very kindly, the winner of last year's most promising startup, CB4, came from Israel to this event to talk about their journey, to talk about what it was like to work with Nokia over the last year. They were part of a joint solution that we brought to market at Mobile World Congress this year. So in my mind, open innovation is all about working with the ecosystem, not just having an event like this, bringing unique solutions that otherwise wouldn't be there in an accelerated way, staying ahead of the rate of change. And it's just such a great vehicle to do it. Now, Silicon Valley made a heck of a lot of sense because this year's Open Innovation Challenge is around these really broad, complex areas. The virtualization and cloudification of the telco network, we call telco cloud, and using big data and big data analytics technologies to make sense of, even predictive sense of, all the data in the network. And what better place than Silicon Valley to find solutions in these areas? So we initially launched the open call for innovation on April 10th in the Valley, but we very consciously knew, again, by pure nature of open innovation, we weren't going to constrain that the solutions had to come from any geography or from any type of company, any size of company. We didn't really know what to expect. Nokia is going through a lot of change. We're not strangers to being on both sides of the disruption equation. So again, we didn't really know what to expect, but we launched it on April 10th, and we received almost 100 solutions from all around the world, half of them from the Valley, half from other parts of the globe, and about half from small startup, early stage startups, and the other half from companies of all sizes. So, so far so good, really a great success, but again, we'll see what it's like to work with our 2 winners here and our other finalists. I'll be happy to tell you more about that.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, and we are going to hear some detail about each of these company solutions. But first, we're going to hear a little bit about the actual process. It almost sounds like, pitching a venture capitalist or something. Daniel, tell us a little bit about the process that you went through in the Open Innovation Challenge.
Yeah, thank you. It was a very interesting experience. It was actually a 2-day event. And in the first day, we had a workshop. We actually learned how to do a pitch. And we usually are very accustomed to doing a pitch that could take a lot longer, but we were trying to get everything condensed into a few minutes and making sure that all the participants are doing it in the same way, which is actually fair because we have a very structured way, so we could basically compare apples to apples instead of doing it in a completely different way. So in some sense, it's like a VC pitch or even like a Hollywood pitch where you have a few minutes to get the entire pitch across. And it's really a good way to have discipline on our part too, so that was fun. And obviously on the second day, we actually gave a pitch to a much larger audience. So in the first day, we were giving it to mostly Nokia people, but in the second day, we had VCs, execs from all throughout Silicon Valley, and we were doing it with all the other finalists. So it was actually a very interesting time to do that.
Okay, great, thanks. Now, what was your experience like? You founded this company, so you've probably done some pitches before, I'm guessing?
Yeah, and I can fully agree. The challenge was really a great event. As Dan mentioned, we had this 1 day of workshop working on our pitch presentations, but also working on experiencing how to work together with the people from Nokia. So we got to know the colleagues from Nokia from all over the world, and we experienced this spirit of Nokia, this open communication. They were very helpful in preparing the pitch presentations on the first day, and it really felt like there is a spirit of innovation in the room, and this was very good to experience. And the event itself was perfectly organized. It was in a great location, a great atmosphere, and really was a lot of fun. There were, besides the pitch presentations, interesting talks from industry leaders, and we were able to showcase our solution at a small table, at a small booth. We got to know, besides the people from Nokia, a lot of interesting people from other companies as well. And so it was great fun and very successful in every aspect.
Okay, great, great. All right, now David, I think that you have told us before that 2 of your key focus areas have been software-defined networking and big data analytics, and each of these companies is in one of those 2 areas. So maybe you can introduce first ParStream, and let us hear a little bit then from Jorg about the big data analytics solution.
Yeah, so thanks for that, and actually thanks both Dan and Jorg for those nice comments. It wasn't artificial at all. We when we received all these submissions and went through the first round of voting, we had 75 jurors actually go through the first round of voters, people from Nokia and people from our customers and consultants and analysts, and the results really did come back about half data analytics solutions making the top list, and half telco cloud solutions making the list. And the same was true for all 3 rounds of the voting and the jury. So we didn't force anything. And we talk about disruptive innovation. I know we talked about that last time here. It's not so much about knowing that these guys might ultimately be disrupting something. It's rather that we're creating a different framework. We're going to encourage a different process. The keynote at the event this year talked about just that if you use the same framework, you're likely to get the same results. And this is about using a different framework to do more sophisticated type of innovation. So you can call it transformational, or we can call it now sophisticated innovation, but it's all about using a different framework. And these 2 companies are all about that. I mean, ParStream has a very unique approach to database indexing, creating, I think, incredible flexibility and speed. We'll see how it ultimately will be applied and provide new use cases for us. And I'll say Midokura as well has such an interesting way to maybe remove the bottlenecks from SDN technology by making it a controllerless solution, which is also incredibly unique. Will it ultimately be disruptive? That's not the point right now. The point is it's a new solution that most likely would not have entered our portfolio, and we're trying to create a vehicle for that. I should also mention this year we had a 3rd category as well, like we did last year. So we had a Most Promising Startup award that went to Streetlight Data, which is also a very, very interesting, different type of analytics company. So we had the 7 finalists. I'll make my last comment. We had the 7 finalists, and we also had 11 other semi-finalists come to demonstrate their solutions. And we have champions assigned to all 7 finalists, and we hope to find a way to work with all 18 of these companies if we can. And we'll see what ends up being disruptive.
All right. Now, Daniel, you have told us that your solution brings a layer of virtualization to existing network hardware. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it can save some costs?
Yeah, thank you, Martha. Yeah, so let me just step back and say that a lot of people are quite aware of virtualization with virtual machines, and that's been a revolution that started in the early 2000s, and obviously it's now a very accepted way to do computing, with VMs being a way to consolidate and lower the costs. But networking has been one of those areas that's been held back because people continue to use more classic networks, and our company grew up more into the regular infrastructure as a service and cloud technologies as well. So what we do is we realize is that virtualization as a concept had to be into the world of networking as well. But when people talk about SDN, a lot of people equate that to using very specific hardware, using technologies like OpenFlow, which requires you to purchase OpenFlow specific hardware and being tied to a very specific SDN technology and an ecosystem as well. So what we've done was created an overlay network which virtualizes a network, and it's a form of SDN. But the other important thing is that it uses the existing hardware that you have. So as long as you have regular switches and routers that talks TCP/IP, you could actually virtualize the networks and create virtualized switches and virtualized routers and use the existing hardware that you have. So it really doesn't require you to completely change the way you do the hardware for the networking. So that's one great benefit of overlay networks. And the other thing that we do is a way of doing a distributed form of network virtualization. And by that I mean that going back to the original way of doing a popular or perceived way of doing network virtualization is that you use systems like OpenFlow controllers, which is a very centralized way of doing things where each time you have a network flow that's moving from one source to one destination, it has to contact a centralized controller to figure out how to transfer the packets. And that has a couple of detriments. One is that it's a single point of failure. So if the controller goes down, the entire virtualized network goes down as well, and which obviously that's a minus. And the other thing is that it's a bottleneck for performance, so that as you scale out, so if you have a telco cloud and you have all these NFV functions that are in virtual machines, and if they all have to talk to the central system, it becomes a bottleneck and the performance could go down. But our architecture is a little different, where you don't really have a central controller. Each of these agents running on these hypervisors have a local copy, and once you know how the traffic moves back and forth, the controller isn't involved in each of the transactions. So that even if the central system goes down, our system could continue to run unimpeded. So that's a way to scale in a very elastic way, and I think that's a very important thing that Nokia and other telco operators need in a way to have an elastic NFV system or a telco cloud. So these are a couple of the attributes that we have in Midonet, which is our product, and it runs in a way that enables telco cloud operators to benefit from the same benefits that high scale cloud operators have benefited inside a infrastructure as a service cloud, and apply those technology and benefits to a telco cloud operator.
Okay, great. That's a great explanation. Now, your telco is also becoming your biggest vertical, you said. Can you tell us a little bit about how that has happened for your company, how you got started, and how you got into serving the carriers and telco providers more?
Yes, happy to do. So ParStream is really a unique database technology for big data analytics in real time, analyzing data really faster than the speed of light. And based on patented algorithms for indexing and compressing data, ParStream is able to analyze billions of records in sub-seconds while continuously importing new data with a very high speed, up to 4.5 million records per second on a single node. The data in ParStream can be queried through standard SQL interfaces, so it very well fits into existing infrastructure. The system is highly scalable and runs on single server, in a cluster, in the cloud, and the footprint is so small that it even can run in embedded systems, for example, in embedded network infrastructure components. And therefore, ParStream enables a very broad range of totally new applications in the telecommunication space, in the area of network monitoring, fraud detection, quality of service monitoring, billing, and many more. The company is headquartered in Cologne in Germany, and we have a very experienced developer team that came from one of the largest German telecommunications companies, and were building their backend infrastructure for more than 15-20 years. So they have 15 to 20 years experience in C++ development in the telco space, building highly reliable and high performance systems. And so the company itself has really a broad telecommunication NDA. And this is really a great differentiator, that we build a system from scratch, a database engine from scratch, not relying on any existing Postgres, MySQL, or other kernel, or doing something around Hadoop. And therefore, we achieve an outstanding performance, outperforming any other product by at least one order of magnitude. For example, we are about 36,000 times faster than analyzing data with Hive on top of Hadoop. And therefore, it's not just about being a little bit more performant or a little bit faster. It's really groundbreaking, enabling new types of applications and even business models.
So what are some of the things that a service provider can do with that data if they can analyze it in real time?
So you can do real-time network monitoring, analyzing data that has just arrived from various probes or devices in the network, together with a lot of data that historic data from the last days, weeks, or even months, billions of records. And the benefit here is that you can do this analytics combined, so you don't have to provide a combination of a streaming or complex event processing engine together with a large data store. It is very easy to fit into existing infrastructures, and there is one additional key feature which is the ability to execute queries in a highly distributed fashion. For example, storing data in a ParStream database in every node in every base station of a mobile network, and then having one central query proxy that fetches the query from the application, distributes the query execution to all the base stations, getting back the results, combining it, and providing the overall total back to the application. That, despite the fact that this can be executed extremely fast, saves a lot of network bandwidth that was previously used for transferring all this data, all this network log data, to a central location for data analysis.
Oh, that's interesting. So both of these solutions are very scalable, conserve resources, and can be deployed on existing infrastructure to a large part. So, David, what's the next step for these companies with Nokia Networks?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. We're just kicking off this journey, right? And it's going to be a big journey. So we have assigned a champion to each of our winners, as well as each of the 7 finalists. But our winners their first steps are going to be coming out to visit us. So we're coming as part of the winning package. They'll be spending time with our executives for a few days at workshops and direct one-on-one meetings with our key decision makers. They'll be meeting our product lines and service lines, and we'll figure out how to innovate together.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us today and introducing us to these companies. Daniel Conde of Midokura, thanks for being here today, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Jörg Bienert of ParStream, thank you for joining us from Germany.
Thank you very much.
And David Letterman, always good to see you, and it's now we all get to say we've been on a show with David Letterman, so that's something right there. Thank you all for being here today.
Thanks, Martha.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.